Welcome to About Mansfield, your audio newspaper. I'm Steve Casillo with the August 2nd, 2023, 184th edition, always broadcasting from the Cellmark Studios along with Colleen Daniel and the About Mansfield news team. Coming up today, it's Mansfield News and Conversation.
And a little later in the episode, you will have a chance to win a $25 gift card to a Mansfield restaurant of your choice with our Mansfield Trivia Question, courtesy of Joe Jenkins Farmers Insurance.
Let's take a look at the stories we're covering this week.
Could AI play a role in the safety of our school kids?
It's back to school time in Mansfield.
MISD to implement cell phone guidelines for upcoming school year.
And in the talk segment, we go one-on-one with local family practitioner Dr. Darin Charles. We are Mansfield's only source for news, talk, and information. This is About Mansfield.
Are you ready to create unforgettable memories? Picture this, an enchanting event venue nestled amidst breathtaking landscapes with panoramic views right here in Mansfield. The Grandview Event Center is the perfect setting to bring your vision to life. From intimate gatherings to large-scale extravaganzas, the Grandview has flexible spaces to accommodate any occasion. Be it a trade show and exhibition, corporate event, or charity gala and fundraiser, book your next unforgettable experience at thegrandviewmansfield.com. That's thegrandviewmansfield.com. The Grandview Event Center, where memories are made and dreams become reality. Book your event today.
Hey, it's Steve Casillo, and we all remember the storm that blew through our town back in June that pelted this community with baseball-sized hail. It did a ton of damage around Mansfield, including my own roof. Regular listeners to About Mansfield have heard Paul Duncan's commercials for Trinity Roofing and Construction, and after the storm, I reached out to him, and boy, am I glad that I did. From the first call to Paul to working with the crew leader, the scheduling department, and the entire construction team, and how it all played out with my insurance company, working with Trinity Roofing and Construction was a breeze. It's easy to see why they're a platinum preferred contractor with Owens Corning with an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. So if you're thinking on replacing your roof, look no further than Trinity Roofing and Construction. They're a Mansfield-based company, and you can find them on the web at trinityroofingconstruction.com. Again, that's trinityroofingconstruction.com.
No matter your familiarity with buying or selling real estate, having an experienced, trusted advisor on speed dial is priceless. The Roger and Beth team of Century 21 Judge Fight is here to be that resource for you. Whether you're buying right here in Mansfield or your dreams are taking you elsewhere, we are ready to help you with turning that vision into a reality. To learn more, visit our website at homesinmansfield.com. That's homesinmansfield.com.
Hi, I'm Michelle Newsom, Mansfield School Board Trustee, and you're listening to About Mansfield.
This portion of the news is brought to you by the Grandview Event Center.
Welcome back to About Mansfield. Could artificial intelligence be the cure-all for on-campus safety? Administrators at Mansfield ISD told school board members at a board meeting on Tuesday about a proposal to use Evolve Technologies, a company that claims its AI scanners can identify weapons on passers-by. The technology flags items of concern on special displays, pinpointing where a weapon might be located on a person. The feature then allows human security guards to search a specific area on a subject rather than forcing them to undress. Educators have long complained that it takes too long for students to pass through traditional metal detectors, as bell schedules do not wait for children to remove belts, shoes, or backpacks. The Evolve system scans individuals as they pass by its electronic towers. There's no need to undress, remove bags, or file through the detectors one by one. The company claims its technology caught more than 100,000 weapons in 2022. There's no word on how many of those weapons were on school campuses. It's not clear how Mansfield ISD would pay for the proposed technology, though the school district allocated nearly $7 million for security in its 2023-2024 budget proposal. The Houston Astros and Six Flags Over Texas Parks also use Evolve's technology, and so do at least 10 NFL teams, monitoring visitors during events. The proposed school district program isn't official yet. It was simply a staff recommendation that was presented to the board. No final decisions have been made.
It is almost time for MISD's Back to School Bash, and this year is going to be bigger than ever. Mansfield ISD will host its 8th annual event on Saturday, August 5th from 7:30 in the morning until noon at the Center for the Performing Arts on Debbie Lane. The Bash will officially kick off the start of the 2023-24 school year. In addition to a wide variety of activities and games, there will be backpacks, school supplies, student health services, and a lot more, completely free of charge to all Mansfield ISD students. And if you're interested in helping the district reach its fundraising goal for the event, please consider making an online donation or becoming an event sponsor.
At the June 27th Mansfield ISD board meeting, trustees approved a new policy related to student cell phone usage during the school day. Based on the new policy, Mansfield ISD is implementing new guidelines for the 2023-24 school year, limiting student use of cell phones and other personal electronic devices in our schools. The new guidelines are designed to limit distractions and learning disruptions in the classroom and include all devices used to communicate electronically, including, but not limited to, cell phones, smartwatches, and earpods and headphones. All students in grades K through 6 will be required to keep their devices turned off and stored away during the school day, except for before and after school. All students in grades 7 through 12 also will be required to keep their devices turned off and stored away during class periods. Campus principals will have the discretion to allow cell phone use during passing periods and lunch. If a student uses a cell phone without authorization during the school day, the device will be confiscated. A parent, guardian, or student may pick up the confiscated device from the office for a fee of $15. Campus administrators will state expectations at the beginning of the year, and administrators will monitor cell phone violations.
If you have a comment about the show, the news, whatever's on your mind locally, tell us what's on your mind. In fact, Chris wrote in via email. He says, I appreciate that all you and your crew do so Mansfield residents can listen to all that is happening in our great city each week. You put together a great podcast, and I very much enjoy listening to it. Well, Chris, we very much thank you for listening. Do you have a comment? In fact, we'd love to hear your voice. You can reach us by voicemail at 817-435-2938. Again, that's 817-435-2938. Leave us a voicemail. You may hear yourself right here on this podcast. This coming Sunday, August 6th, is National Root Beer Float Day, a day that reminds us that it's perfectly okay to drop a big dollop of vanilla ice cream into an ice-cold mug of frothy root beer. It's also known as the Black Cow. The root beer float got its start in a Colorado mining town way back in August of 1893, and since then has become the signature dessert for restaurants like A&W root beer locations all across the country. Also happening this coming Sunday, and I only mention this because Oppenheimer is such a big hit movie right now. Sunday, August 6th, marks the 78th anniversary of the United States dropping an atomic bomb on Hiroshima, Japan. The B-29 Enola Gay was accompanied by 2 other B-29s, and after being given the all clear, the bombardier deployed Little Boy, containing approximately 141 pounds of uranium. The rest, as they say, is history. Go see the movie.
Coming up after the break, we turn the page to the features section.
I'm Angel Biasatti, and we're going to offer you ways to beat the heat and stay cool. And Methodist Mansfield news to know.
I may not know whether you love them or hate them, but one thing I do know is that you have an opinion about them. I'm Beth Steinke, and we're going to talk about HOAs today on the Mansfield Real Estate Report.
In this week's Cocktail of the Week, I'll be talking about a cocktail that will take you to a New York state of mind.
We are Mansfield's only source for news, talk, and information. I'm Colleen Daniel, and this is About Mansfield.
This portion of the news was brought to you by the Grandview Event Center.
The housing market is evolving as interest rates rise to meet inflation. Speculation abounds as to what the future may hold. Do you have a trusted advisor? The Roger and Beth team at Century 21 Judge Fight should be your first call in all matters concerning real estate and the market. We specialize in residential real estate for both buyers and sellers. With industry partners across North America, our resources and expertise can turn the home you've been envisioning into a reality. Visit our website at homesinmansfield.com to learn more. That's homesinmansfield.com.
I'm Philip Washington, Chief Investment Officer of Stonehill Wealth Management and host of the Wealth Building Made Simple podcast. First book I read in college was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and it changed my life. And since then, I've read tons and tons of books on money. And what I've done is taken those lessons, simplified them, and I talk about those lessons on my podcast, Wealth Building Made Simple. So come hang out with us. We're on every major platform, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on YouTube, Wealth Building Made Simple.
Congratulations to Chris Osborne, who was the first person to correctly answer last week's Mansfield Trivia Question. In what year did the Mansfield ISD Center for the Performing Arts open? Chris knew that the Mansfield ISD Center for the Performing Arts opened its doors for the first time just in time for high school graduations in June of 2012. When we come back, this week's trivia question. This is About Mansfield.
At Methodist Mansfield Medical Center, we've been caring for our home team for over 15 years. Today, you'll find award-winning physicians on the medical staff, advanced neurosurgery, a level 3 trauma center, critical care for newborns, and comprehensive orthopedic care. Methodist Mansfield, delivering the care our friends, neighbors, and home team depend on. That's community, and why so many people trust Methodist.
Hey, it's Steve Casillo. I want to take a second to tell you about Podcast Mansfield Recording Studio 3.0. It's where we record and produce the About Mansfield podcast episodes. What started out as an audio-only studio, Podcast Mansfield is now a full-service audio and video recording studio, complete with custom green screen backgrounds, 2 high-definition cameras, editing, mixing, and mastering capabilities, and we can also help market your podcast. Podcast Mansfield is home to such great locally produced shows, such as Wealth Building Made Simple, We Are TPM, and Wealth Think Tank Television, just to name a few. So whether you're a hands-on person or just need a place to record your podcast or need advice from concept to completion, Podcast Mansfield is here to help. Conveniently located on Heritage Parkway, just off of 287 right here in Mansfield, mention the About Mansfield podcast, and you get to record your first episode at no charge. For more information on starting your podcast, or if you're looking for a better place to record, Podcast Mansfield Recording Studio can be found on the internet at podcastmansfield.com.
Hi, this is Joe Jenkins with Joe Jenkins Farmers Insurance, specializing in auto, home, commercial, and life insurance. I was born and raised here in Mansfield, Texas. We're active in the community, and Mansfield's a town we really care about. Our office has over 30 years experience in the insurance industry, and we're passionate about what we do and about customer service. For a free quote, please visit our website at joejenkinsinsurance.com or give us a call at 817-472-6058. Once again, that website is joejenkinsinsurance.com.
It is time right now, this very second. Yep, don't go away, because it is the highly coveted, wildly popular About Mansfield Trivia Question. If you are the first person to email the correct answer to trivia@aboutmansfield.com, you will receive a $25 gift card to a Mansfield restaurant of your choice. It's brought to you by Joe Jenkins Insurance. Whether you're looking for homeowners, auto, commercial, or any other type of insurance, Joe has helped Mansfield area residents understand the insurance coverage that best fit their needs since 2010. You can find him on the internet at joejenkinsinsurance.com. Let's get to this week's question, Colleen.
Well, Steve, today's trivia question takes us back to the 1800s. Charles A. Smith, also known as C.A. Smith, owned the first cotton gin in Mansfield. He also owned a building on Main Street, which still stands to this day. This week's question is, what 2 businesses currently occupy the C.A. Smith building on Main Street in historic downtown Mansfield? Email your answer to trivia@aboutmansfield.com. Again, what 2 businesses currently occupy the C.A. Smith building in historic downtown Mansfield? Here's a little hint. C.A. Smith and the current owner of the building share the same surname. Good luck, and thanks to Joe Jenkins Insurance for the gift card.
Hi, I'm Corinne Fiagami, and you're listening to About Mansfield.
Welcome back to About Mansfield, your audio newspaper. Let's open up the features section. Angel Biasatti is here with tips on how to stay cool and beat the heat in today's Methodist Mansfield News to Know. Angel?
If you want to stay cool, stay well hydrated. Drinking water is best, and avoid beverages that can contain alcohol, caffeine, or tons of sugar. Consume foods with a high water content like watermelon. The recommended daily amount of water you should drink is 8 ounces of water daily. If you're exercising or sweating excessively, drink more water. A good way to test if you're hydrated is to look at your urine color. If it's dark yellow, you need more water. If it's pale, you're okay. Another way to cool down is place an ice-cold bandana around your neck or a washcloth with cold water. You can also fill a bag of ice and place it on your forehead or the back of your neck to cool down. Another way is to spritz yourself with some cool water. As the water evaporates on your skin, it helps cool you down. Stay cool in an air-conditioned area inside, or place a shallow bowl of ice in front of a fan to cool off. In extreme heat, wear light-colored clothing that doesn't attract the heat of the sun. Synthetic fabrics are designed to wick away the sweat, or loose-fitting cotton clothing. Avoid heavy meals or foods that are hard on your digestive system that makes you feel sluggish. Fruits and vegetables and fresh foods with high water content like green salads and smoothies are great choices. You can even try some spicy food. Hot peppers really can cool you down. Also pay attention to the signs of heat-related illnesses. Children, the elderly, people with disabilities, and those who work outside are at most at risk. Issues can occur with your cardiovascular system. Medications don't mix with the heat and can make it harder for the body to cool down. Most heat-related illnesses occur because of overexposure to heat or over-exercising. You may need to modify your exercise routine and choose swimming or an indoor workout, or work out during the coolest parts of the day, early mornings, or in the evening when the sun starts to set. Signs of heat-related illnesses include headache, dizziness, weakness, nausea, heavy sweating, rapid heartbeat, and thirst. If this occurs, move to an air-conditioned area, take a cold shower, wet a washcloth with cold water and place it on your forehead or on the back of your neck. Take small sips of water or a sports drink with electrolytes for about an hour. Sit or lie down so your body can rest. If symptoms don't get better or if they worsen, call 911 or go to the nearest emergency room. That's Methodist Mansfield News to Know. I'm Angel Biasatti reporting for the About Mansfield podcast.
Realtor Beth Steinke is here with information on HOAs in the Mansfield Real Estate Market update. Beth?
We're diving into the intriguing world of homeowners associations, commonly known as HOAs. Love them or hate them, they are an integral part of many residential neighborhoods across our community. Let's explore what HOAs are, their mission, and why they evoke such passionate responses from residents. Let's start with a little history. Some of the first HOAs were formed early in the 20th century in Los Angeles County, beginning with the Arroyo Seco Improvement Association in Pasadena, founded in 1905, and the Los Feliz Improvement Association in Los Angeles, founded in 1916. These were born from deed restrictions and created a new kind of planned subdivision. They established a national legal precedent for zoning districts exclusively for upscale single-family residences. Private restrictions normally included provisions such as minimum required cost for home construction, square footage, architectural style, and in some cases, the exclusion of certain types of people. The concept of the planned communities, where developers created residential areas with shared amenities and common spaces, began to fully emerge during the 20th century. The goal was to offer buyers a more controlled and appealing living environment compared to traditional unregulated neighborhoods. However, the modern concept of HOAs, as we know them today, began to take shape in the 1960s and 70s. This was a period of significant suburban expansion in the United States, and developers saw the potential for creating planned communities with a sense of uniformity and community spirit. During the 70s and 80s, the number of HOAs in the United States expanded rapidly. Many new housing developments, particularly in suburban areas, adopted the HOA model to maintain common areas, regulate architectural standards, and provide amenities like swimming pools, tennis courts, and parks. The popularity of HOAs continued to grow into the late 20th and early 21st centuries. Today, it is estimated that millions of Americans live in communities governed by HOAs. These associations have become an important part of community living and have faced both praise for their ability to maintain property values and criticism for their perceived overreach and strict rules. So what exactly are homeowners association? An HOA is an organization established within a residential community. Its primary purpose is to manage and maintain communal areas, shared amenities, and enforce certain rules and regulations set forth in the community's governing documents. These governing documents often include the covenants, conditions, and restrictions, also known as the CC&Rs, as well as bylaws and articles of incorporation. The mission of the Homeowners Association is multifaceted. One of their main goals is to maintain property value and uphold a certain standard of living within the community. They do this by ensuring shared spaces like parks, pools, and landscaping are well kept and aesthetically pleasing. A newborn HOA is established and controlled by the developers to maintain that control over the development until a sufficient number of properties are sold. Once a certain threshold of sales is reached, the developer will transfer control of HOAs to the homeowners. Homeowners associations collect dues from residents, and these funds are used to cover the cost of maintenance, repair, and improvements for the common areas. In some cases, HOAs may even provide security services or organize community events and activities, and that fosters a stronger sense of belonging among the residents. With their focus on maintaining the quality of life and preserving property values, many residents find homeowners associations to be beneficial. I really like my HOA. We plan community events such as back to school bash, summer block party, movie night at the pool, and a holiday party. We have 2 community pools, a pond, green space, and walking trails. They also make sure no one paints their house an unnatural color and that yards are maintained. While many residents appreciate the benefits of living in an HOA community, it's essential to acknowledge that not everybody shares that same sentiment. Some individuals have strong opinions against homeowners associations, and they have their reasons. Whether it be because the rules are excessively strict and the HOA board members seem to enjoy enforcing them a little too much, it might feel like living in a dictatorship rather than a neighborhood. Another issue is the rising cost of HOA dues. While it's true that these fees cover maintenance and amenities, sometimes the expenses are mismanaged and dues keep increasing without much transparency. It can be frustrating for residents who feel like they're paying more and getting less in return. Our HOA has controls over the kind of trees we plant. We can plant oak, elm, or maple. If I want to plant a Texas pecan tree in my backyard, I'll need to get HOA permission to do that. Here are some of the other typical HOA rules and areas of control. HOAs may have rules regarding the type of architectural styles, exterior colors, materials, and landscaping allowed for homes within the community. These rules aim to maintain cohesion and an aesthetically pleasing neighborhood. HOAs may require homeowners to maintain their front and backyard in a neat and well-kept condition. This could include rules about lawn care, tree trimming, and weed control. HOAs often have rules related to parking, such as designating specific areas for guest parking, prohibiting parking on the street overnight, and limiting the number of vehicles that can be parked at a property. To maintain a peaceful environment, HOAs may set specific hours during which loud noises and disturbances are not allowed, such as late at night or early in the morning. HOAs may have rules about the number and type of pets allowed, leash requirements, designated pet areas, and even size restriction for certain breeds. Some HOAs limit or regulate the ability of homeowners to rent out their properties. This could include requiring rental approval from the HOA or setting minimum lease durations. I have a house listed right now in a small village-type community in Midlothian that does not permit homeowners to rent their homes out, and many HOAs are considering rule changes around short-term rentals. If the community has shared amenities like a pool, clubhouse, or gym, the HOA may have rules governing their usage, scheduling, and guest policy. HOAs may establish rules about trash disposal and recycling, including the use of specific containers or collection schedules and where they should be stored. Rules may dictate the placement and size of satellite dishes, as well as external additions like sheds, fences, and solar panels. HOAs typically have processes and penalties for enforcing these rules, which may include fines, warning, or legal action for repeat offenders. Did you know that an HOA lien must be satisfied before you refinance your house or sell? You may want to stick it to the man, but they will get their money when you move. These rules can change, and in general, once you are a member of the HOA, you have an obligation to follow all current and future rules. It's important to stay involved so you have a say on how your HOA matures and develops. It's clear that homeowners associations have significant impacts on the dynamics of community living. The key to successful HOA experience lies in the effective communication between residents and the HOA board, allowing for a better understanding of the community's needs and concerns. As neighborhoods continue to evolve, so too will the role and perception of homeowners associations. I'd love to feature your neighborhood, with or without an HOA, on the podcast. Send me an email to info@aboutmansfield.com with all the things you love about your neighborhood, and listen for a shout out on a future edition of the Mansfield Real Estate Report. For the About Mansfield podcast, I'm Beth Steinke with Century 21 Judge Fight.
Shaken or stirred, either way, you know it's going to be good, as Brian Certain serves up a drink fit for breakfast at Tiffany's in the cocktail of the week. Brian?
This week's cocktail of the week is the Tiffany's Mimosa. Several weeks ago, I started a new series on cocktails that I found on TikTok, and this week's cocktail is actually from Tipsy Goat Cocktails. Gotta love the name. Today's cocktail comes from my best impression of Hugh Golightly, Holly Golightly from Breakfast at Tiffany's fame. So bear with me as Hugh brings you this cocktail. Darlings, let me whisk you away to a world of elegance, charm, and effervescent delight. Picture yourself in a glamorous setting, surrounded by sparkling lights and the tinkling of laughter. It's a sunny afternoon, and the air is filled with the promise of something extraordinary. And what could possibly be more extraordinary than indulging in a Tiffany's mimosa? As the iconic Hugh Golightly, I invite you to experience a libation that embodies sophistication and a touch of whimsy. This delightful concoction is crafted with finesse, combining sparkling white wine, lemonade, edible glitter, and a dash of blue carousel. It's a drink that sparkles and shimmers just like the jewels that adorn Tiffany and Company. But let's begin with the star of the show, sparkling white wine, otherwise known as champagne, but you call it what you want. It's an effervescence that will dance across your palate, tickling your taste buds with a sense of celebration. The crispness of the wine is a perfect canvas for the harmonious melody of flavors yet to come. Next, we're going to add lemonade, a burst of citrus that brightens the drink and adds a zesty twist. And like my vivacious sister Holly Golightly herself, the lemonade brings a refreshing touch to the mix, bringing the sweetness with a tangy flair. It's the perfect marriage of effervescence and tang. But we can't stop there, can we? We truly capture the essence of Tiffany's. We sprinkle a pinch of edible glitter. Yes, I said edible glitter. Just like the glimmering diamonds adorning those coveted jewels, the edible glitter adds a touch of magic and whimsy to your mimosa. With every sip, you're transported to a world of elegance and sparkle. And now for the piece de resistance, the blue carousel. This enhancing liqueur adds a mesmerizing azure hue to your drink. For those of you from Texas, basically it's light blue. But it's very reminiscent of the Tiffany blue that has become synonymous with luxury and style. With its hints of orange and the mystique that it brings, blue carousel adds a captivating twist to the mimosa, leaving you an unforgettable sensory experience. With each sip of the Tiffany's mimosa, you are transported to the glamorous world of me and my sister Holly. This delicate bubbles tickle your nose, and the citrus dances on your tongue, and then shimmering glitter mesmerizes your eyes. It's a drink that embodies the spirit of Tiffany and Company and my sister Holly. It's timeless, It's enchanting, and it's filled with wonder. So, my darlings, let's raise our flutes and toast to the Tiffany's Mimosa, a tribute to elegance, a celebration of life's precious moments, and a reminder that sometimes a touch of sparkle is all it needs to make our dreams come true. But don't worry about taking notes. I'll be giving all the ingredients and instructions and posting them on your favorite website, bourbongospel.com. Ingredients: you're going to need sparkling white wine, 2 ounces of lemon juice, a half ounce of blue curacao, and edible glitter. To make the cocktail, pour in a couple of ounces of your sparkling white wine, then pour in the lemonade, and then continue to top with the rest of the champagne. Put the edible glitter on top, and then pour in the half ounce of blue curacao. Let it settle, and then serve it. Again, the experience is absolutely fantastic. Here in the summertime, out on a patio, the colors just really pop. As always, I'm open to hear your take and your input. You can reach me at brian@bourbongospel.com. And until next week, as Mark Twain is known for saying, too much of anything is bad. Too much whiskey is barely enough. Reporting for the About Mansfield podcast, I'm Brian Certain.
Hi, this is Philip DeGroat, and you're listening to About Mansfield.
Welcome back to another segment of About Mansfield. I am Steve Casillo, making the transition from news to talk. And in the studio today, he came recommended by a friend, and so I've known this guy for a long time, but I really don't know this guy at all. And so I thought, let's bring Dr. Darin Charles into the studio. Doctor, welcome to About Mansfield.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And can I call you Darin? Or,
yeah, absolutely.
I don't have to call you doctor.
No, we can. No formality for me, so that's good.
All right. You started out with the way we met. You're a general practitioner. I started out as your patient, and that's how we met. But I've watched your practice grow. I watched you move from one building to another building, now into your own building, and we'll talk about that as the interview progresses. You're not from Texas.
Well, I was born in San Antonio, but shortly after that moved to Oklahoma, to Tulsa, and grew up in Tulsa, and then moved to Mansfield the day before I started my freshman year of high school.
At Mansfield High?
At Mansfield High School, yes.
Let's go back to San Antonio.
Okay.
So you were born in San Antonio. You were there for how long?
Just a couple of years, about 2 years.
And
so no memories of San Antonio whatsoever.
Have you been back?
It's a great place to visit. My family loves it, and like to go to SeaWorld, like to hang out at the Riverwalk, but no, I don't. No family memories of San Antonio.
Have you gone back to see the house that you lived in as a 2-year-old?
I've been back with my parents to see the old place that we've lived in before. Yeah. So, humble beginnings in San Antonio.
Where in Oklahoma?
Near Tulsa.
Near Tulsa.
Yeah. Great town of Catoosa.
That's where you stayed up until?
Yeah, we moved in there. We built a house on my grandparents' property when I was about 2 or 3 years old and lived there. I have 2 older brothers. And so after my middle brother graduated high school, my dad got transferred to Dallas. And that was right before I started high school. So that's when my parents and I moved to Texas, back to Texas.
Transferred to Dallas. So what kind of work did he do?
He's in accounting. He's retired now, but yeah, in accounting for a steel company back then. But
tell me about Catoosa, Oklahoma. The population and
it was a 3A high school. So I know my brothers graduated with probably around 120 kids in their graduating classes. I don't know what the population of Catoosa is now, although it's grown. There's a big casino in Catoosa now, and so a Hard Rock hotel and casino. So things look different when I go back to that town than it certainly did when I was there. But yeah, certainly rural Oklahoma is kind of where I went for elementary school, middle school.
3A, would that be a 6-man football team or?
No, I think we had a full 11-man football team. Probably not a lot of extra guys on the sidelines. I know when we moved from there, they were still playing 6-on-6 girls basketball. So the girls played half-court offense and half-court defense. And
wow.
So that was when we moved to Texas, the big city of Mansfield. 5-on-5 girls basketball was a step up for sure.
Wow. Okay. Catoosa, what are you doing on a Friday night in Catoosa?
Me, not much of anything. I mean, I only lived there until I was 13, so not much of anything. But, we had family around, so probably most of that time was hanging out with family, going out to my aunt's house and swimming. If it was the summertime, that was, riding bikes and hanging out with friends. And that's most of those years probably how I stayed busy.
So mom and dad packed up the truck. They moved to Mansfield.
That's right.
Where you went to Mansfield High.
Correct.
What year did you graduate?
So graduated in 95. Oh. So we literally moved to Mansfield the day before high school started. Hadn't closed on our house yet, so we spent the first few weeks of my high school career living out of the Hampton Inn, which was up near 20 and Matlock.
Not the one right here at 287.
No, that didn't exist then. So so that was the closest place we could stay, was all the way up in Arlington, and drove down to Mansfield, stayed in a 2-bed hotel room for a few weeks, but no, that was it. Got started at Mansfield High School back in, I guess that would have been 91, and then graduated in 95.
How did that feel coming from population of Catoosa? I don't.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know for sure, but Mansfield school wise was infinitely bigger in my mind.
So how did that feel then? You're going from that little the little town. Mansfield in 91 was still a pretty little town, but
felt enormous to me.
I would think.
Yeah, no, it was pretty intimidating. Certainly didn't know anyone, walked into class that first day not knowing anyone. So certainly some fun stories to tell about, eating lunch by myself those first few days, these sad stories of new kid in town trying to find his way. But it was a big change, but a lot of opportunities available through Mansfield that I wouldn't have had I stayed in Catoosa. So ultimately, a great move for me personally, but a little bit of a rough transition. Luckily, found got brought into a loop of friends, and those are still some lifelong friends I have now. So that was.
Including the one that recommended you be here.
That's
today.
Right. Yeah. That brought me here.
Should we give a shout out to Joe?
Yeah, let's do it. So okay. Joe Jenkins. So I met him at a lock-in at First Methodist Church here in Mansfield during my freshman year.
What is a lock-in?
So, you show up at night and you try to stay awake all night playing games and doing goofy stuff as a teenager. And so just a way to keep kids out of trouble and have fun. And so, another friend of mine, Mike, had invited me, and that's where I met Joe. And so we've been friends ever since.
What was your favorite class in high school?
They started the health occupations program here in Mansfield when I was there, and so probably that obviously kind of leads to where I am now. But those health occupations classes were really well done, and just getting started, trying to build a program that still does really well now. Yeah. Shout out to Jane Getz. She was the person who brought that to Mansfield 30 years ago, I guess probably now, but still remember her and her trying to build that program. That was
Jane Getz was your teacher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was a registered nurse. She's the one who started the program here in Mansfield, as far as I know. I mean, I'd always wanted to be a doctor. I'd grown up knowing that's what I wanted to do.
Okay.
But that was a new opportunity that came up. I guess my sophomore year in high school, they started that program, and so I had 3 years in the health occupations program, and just got a lot of experiences through that program. I saw the first baby born I ever got to witness.
Wow.
I witnessed the first patient I ever saw die in front of me on that rotation.
While you were in high school?
Everything in between, yeah, absolutely. So it's a lot of memorable things that happened through that program. So.
Were you a good student?
Yeah. I mean, I was, fortunately, school came pretty easily. So I just had to, try to my best to stay out of trouble and not aggravate teachers. That was really the main goal of my time in high school was to, not get in trouble while being at school. So.
Not get in trouble. And how difficult was that?
Well, I was a pretty good kid. I was always cracking jokes and aggravating folks, I guess. So we had some, friendly run-ins with teachers, I guess. Never anything terribly bad. But
you weren't the class clown, though, were you?
Well, I was voted most humorous of my senior class. But I was never I was always if you sat within 2 seats of me, then I was really funny, but I didn't disrupt an entire class. That was kind of my approach.
Were you involved in any extracurricular?
So I played basketball for a couple of years, and then coach decided that was enough, that I'd had enough. My basketball career was over.
You're not 6'9", so
so that put an end to my my basketball career, and then got into theater arts a little bit. We started the improv troupe here in Mansfield. Joe and some other friends of ours, part of the theater class that started the improv troupe that's still going strong.
I was going to say
at Mansfield High School.
Yeah.
So that's something that kind of proud of. That was kind of the beginning of Whose Line Is It Anyways? And kind of the improv becoming a popular thing. And so we put on shows. We wrote sketch comedy and improv shows, and so that was enjoyable.
Just earlier today. And for the benefit of the listeners, this is being recorded on Monday, July 24th. Earlier today, sitting in that chair to your left, was also a Mansfield High School grad. She starred, she had the lead role in Beauty and the Beast. So she played Belle as a freshman. Were you involved in any theater?
I was not a great actor.
No.
I was, I had small parts in our one-act play and so forth, but no starring roles. I really just did it my senior year. It was the only time that I got into it, but it was fun. It was enjoyable. Like I said, I really love the improv. I think improv was just the spur of the moment. It lets you show kind of wit and sarcasm and some of those kind of things, which were more my style than true acting, I think.
And thinking off the top of your head, and so that also tends to show a level of vulnerability. I hate that word. Vulnerability.
You showed vulnerability by trying to say that word live during this, so that's impressive.
That when you have to think off the top of your head, and by the way, how many questions had I prepared for this interview?
0. Blank slate. That's right.
Which also brings up a level of vulnerability.
There we go.
That's one thing I really like about improv is that, it can all you can say something you didn't mean to say or you shouldn't have said because everything's on the fly.
Yep. You can't take it back.
Now, we have the benefit of being able to edit this because it's being recorded, but when you're in front of an audience,
right,
that's not always the case. That's never the case.
Yeah.
Where'd you go to? You graduated from Mansfield. You went to college.
That's right. Yeah. So graduated from Mansfield in '95, and then went off to the University of Oklahoma. So I went there for a year. My future wife.
That would make you a Sooner.
That's correct. Still a Sooner. Yes, that is true.
I'm not from around here, so I have to figure out. Okay, was that a Cowboy or is that a Sooner?
No.
Oklahoma State. U of O. Okay,
that's right. Yeah,
gotcha.
Yep. So right. Oklahoma Sooners. I am a Sooner. So went there for a year. My future wife had graduated with me and had gone to Stephen F. Austin. And so after a year of meeting halfway, driving back and forth and realizing that we were probably in this for the long haul, we looked at our options and I ended up transferring to Stephen F. Austin.
Okay.
So we both went to Stephen F. Austin for the rest of college.
You went to college, a specific college for a girl.
Yeah,
But it worked out because
it all worked out. Now, obviously, it made my parents nervous. I was, leaving a big university with dreams of going to medical school for a smaller university. I was told by the pre-med department at Stephen F. Austin that 90% of their pre-med graduates got into the medical school of their choice. I later found out that was totally bogus. I'm not sure who came up with that statistic, but not the case. The year I graduated from Stephen F. Austin, of all the pre-med people who started, whenever I started, there were 4 of us that got into medical school that year. So I'm not sure what that percentage would be, but certainly nowhere near 90% of folks. So, but yeah, it worked out great for me.
In a similar case, I'm not sure if this was exactly if she chose the college because of the boyfriend, but my son is a year older than his girlfriend, and he was going to UNT, and then all of a sudden, the next year, she's at UNT. They had 2 years apart. She was still at UNT, and he went to University of Minnesota, where they had a long-distance relationship, and now they are fiancés.
There you go.
And it's
very good, yeah.
And it's working. So long-distance relationship.
It worked for us, and this was really pre-internet, certainly pre-texting.
Pre-FaceTime.
So long distance still cost money. So we were discouraged from calling each other. And so we have boxes of letters. We literally wrote letters back and forth to each other for, the better part of a year. And we have boxes of old letters between my wife and I from our freshman year of college. So pretty cool.
And there'd be road trips where you meet in the middle?
Yeah, we usually would meet, it's about here is about midway, and we're both from here. So we would meet here and then every once in a while make the full trip all the way to one or the other. But a lot of driving that first year.
Let's talk about med school.
Yeah.
Where was that?
That was back at OU. So after I graduated from Stephen F. Austin, went back to OU for medical school.
So you get a little whoof from your parents.
So, that's right.
All right, he's back.
So got back to OU. So was there for 4 years of medical school.
And your wife's name is?
Dana.
So you were dating Dana
So
at the time.
we started dating, again, in college. We got married between our junior and senior year of college. So we were actually married. So she's been along for the whole ride. So she went on my medical school interviews with me, which probably made me look better. So that was good. So we graduated from college, had a couple of different options for medical school, had to choose between going to Houston or going to Oklahoma City to OU, and chose to go to Oklahoma City, and it was great. It's a really good medical school, busy, lots of hours. But
when you graduated then from OU, the med school, you didn't just jump into a practice.
Right. So after medical school, you have to do residency.
Right.
So it's undergrad, and then it's 4 years of medical school, and then it's residency for whatever your field is. So I'm a family physician, so family medicine is a 3-year residency. So we moved from Oklahoma City to Tyler. I did 3 years of residency in Tyler. And so
as a GP, a general practitioner, do you have to know more than a specialist?
What I tell people is I'm supposed to know everything 1 to 2 layers deep, right?
Yeah.
So I need to be able to recognize and manage almost everything to some depth. Where a specialist comes in, obviously, is really that deeper knowledge for more complicated
the third
cases.
layer and beyond.
That's right. Or procedural things,
yeah.
right? So if there's tests and studies that they need to do that I'm not trained to do or not capable of doing. So I guess, you could argue I have to know more things, but at a lesser depth probably than specialists would.
I was going to say a podiatrist knows feet. But
that's right.
You can't go to a podiatrist and say, I have an earache.
Yeah. So I think the most important thing that family physicians have to know is what they don't know. And so you manage things to a point where you realize this person's better off seeing a specialist, right? So
so the GP is basically, if needed, the conduit to a specialist.
Yeah.
And I would assume this then it takes away having to go to a specialist when they don't need to go to one.
Right. So I think, if somebody calls me and says, my knee hurts, who do I need to go see? I would normally say, come see me.
Right.
And because I feel like, a good majority of the time, unless they need surgery, it's something that we can manage. And so I think that's the idea, is that we're able to manage a lot of things that don't require a specialist, but absolutely having a good working relationship with with specialists in all the fields is key. And even if you do need a specialist, having a family physician who knows how to do the initial test, get the initial studies done so that when I hand them off to a specialist, it's much easier for them to sort of take that patient and move forward rather than to sort of start from scratch. And so, I think when it comes to that, again, part of my job is knowing when to see a specialist, but also how to set the person up to see the specialist so they can get the most out of it as quickly as possible.
And you know all the specialists in town.
I started practice here before the hospital opened. So I was the first physician associated with the Methodist sort of network here in Mansfield. And so my practice actually opened about 6 months before the hospital opened.
That's right. You were in the professional building.
So I was in an older building actually for a few months before that even opened. And then when the hospital opened, I moved into that professional building 1 right there next to the hospital. And so we did have a handful of specialists and primary care doctors here in Mansfield, it was funny. I moved into that suite, and it was myself and one MA and my office manager, and we were in an office building that was built out for 6 doctors. Right? I mean, in an office space that was built out for 6 doctors, and so just this huge empty space, and I had virtually no patients. I came straight from residency, so I didn't have any sort of built-in patients. So we'd sit around and see 2 or 3 patients a day, and go to events in the community and try to talk to people about the practice. And ultimately, that practice grew, and we added more doctors and more doctors. And
how difficult? I'm relating this to, say, someone who's just opened a restaurant, has no customers. They close at 10 o'clock, and at 7 o'clock, there's no one in the restaurant for 3 hours.
Right.
What's going through your mind when you've got only 3 patients in a day, and you're late 20s, mid 20s?
Yeah. I mean, so by the time you finish everything, you're about 29 or 30 by the time you finish residency if you go straight through. So so I was probably 29 at the time, and so. You have faith it's going to work out, I guess. I was never really doubted that it was going to work. Yeah. The question is always, am I better off sitting in my office, or am I better off being out doing something? And so a lot of times if I didn't have patients, we'd, just be out anywhere, try to find any sort of organizations or meetings or things to go to. But even just going to the store, walking around, you never know, right?
Well, when you said get out in the community, I immediately wrote down the initials MMC because you're involved with the Mansfield Mission Center.
Right. Yeah, I am now. Now, that's not something that I was
not back then.
But that's right. So I'm the medical director for the Mansfield Mission Center, have been for, I guess, about 4 years now. I think probably this month would be 4 years. And so for the medical clinic there specifically, and so help find volunteers. And
let's go back to the Methodist Mansfield. So you left the tower, you left the 3rd floor.
Yeah. So we built that office out till it was jam packed. So we started with it empty, and
so you outgrew it
and got too busy, and so then I sort of satellited off a brand new office up by Lifetime off Matlock and Debbie with Methodist still. And so I moved up there by myself, and then we grew that practice out and until it got full. And that's when I learned that I liked building practices, and I liked that space is something that interested me, and so ultimately led me to start my own practice.
Your own practice, which is actually just right down the street from the old place. The old place right by Fuzzy's and Port and Jet's Pizza. You're now a little further east. Down Debbie Lane.
Correct.
In your own building.
Well, it's not my building.
Oh, I would say.
No, it's but I share some space, a building there with an insurance agent and a law firm.
Describe because you went through a different business method with this new practice. What is a concierge practice?
Right. Yeah. So what I do now technically is called direct primary care. And so basically what that means is that we don't bill or collect anything from insurance. And so we have a contract with our patients, basically a membership. And so folks have either a monthly or an annual membership with the practice. And then it's kind of all you can eat from there. So I tell people it's like Netflix for family medicine. So you pay a monthly membership, and then however often you need us, whatever it is you need from us, we don't bill per thing we do. So there's no charges for visits or for routine labs or procedures in the office. It's just a fixed monthly membership fee.
It sounds like an open door for hypochondriacs.
So, I think that for people who worry about their health a lot, it certainly is a relief knowing they've got access, because really, what it allows me to do. So when I left Methodist, and like most full-time family physicians, I had about 3,500 people who would call me their doctor. So I was the primary care doctor for probably about 3,500 people in town, which for a lot of people meant if they had a question or they needed to get in and get seen quickly, it was inconvenient, right? It's hard to get in quickly. It's hard to get a call answered. There's a lot of other people answering phones and answering questions. And so what I realized was the number one complaint I had was it's just too hard to get in to see you when I want to see you. It's just too hard to get a hold of you when I want to get a hold of you. Mm-hmm. So this practice, by cutting out all the middleman overhead red tape, right? So we've streamlined things that I have a practice of about 600 patients. That's a full practice. So I'm working at about with about 20% of the patients that I would have been working with previously. So that makes me a lot more available and accessible. So my patients can call or text anytime they have questions. We can almost always see them the same day if they need to get in and get seen. Oh, wow. I'm the only physician in the practice. I have an office manager who's also a medical assistant, and then one other part-time medical assistant, and we're the only 3 people in the office. So I tell people if you call, one of the 3 of us is going to answer the phone. That's there's no phone trees. There's no centralized call center. Push 1 for English,
put two for Spanish.
Nope, none of that. So we've tried to streamline it. When I decided I was going to do this, and it was probably about an 18-month process from deciding I was going to make the move to actually starting the practice. The one word that I built the whole practice on is simple. So the design was, how do I take out any possible complications? How do I make this as insanely simple as possible for me and my staff, but also for the patients? And so, so we just, we try to keep it as all inclusive as possible. And so, when I'm done seeing you, you don't have to check out. You don't have to, there's no bill. There's nothing to do, right? I mean, that's just it. You walk in, you get seen, you walk out, and next time you need me, you shoot me a text and we get you taken care of. So,
all right. So let's say someone does have insurance.
Yeah. Most of my patients do.
They can still come see you.
That's right. So most of my patients have health insurance. And it still works for all the stuff that happens outside of my practice. So if you need to go get an MRI or you need to go see a cardiologist, you would still use your insurance just like you always would. We just don't actually bill or collect anything from insurance. There's no super bills. There's no anything to file for your insurance.
Are there other doctors doing this, or did you just dream this up?
So no, this isn't my creation. No. This is something that's been building. I guess probably 15 years or so now. But there's, from what I can tell, there are maybe 2,000 family practice doctors in the country that do what I do. So it's a pretty small number, obviously, but growing. There's a lot of dissatisfaction and burnout amongst physicians for sure. I'm happy to say that's not what led me to change. I was fine. I just felt like I could do better. I felt like I could provide a better level of service than what we were doing before. But
and I think it's you're well known in the community. You had 3,000 patients, and again, going back to, gosh, I can't get an appointment for 6 months away.
Yeah.
And that, so, keeping that simple business plan.
Yeah. So knowing all of that, how many people do you think, when I decided to change, said, all right, we're in, sign me up? Out of 3,500 people.
You tell me.
40.
40 signed up immediately.
Yeah. So that's a humbling number, right? But we're dealing with healthcare, a complicated healthcare system, and I'm trying to introduce people to a whole new model that nobody's ever heard of before, that for a lot of people feels like we're throwing away their insurance money if they're going to pay for insurance and then come see me too. Why would you do that?
So did you feel like 40 people, did you feel like when you first started your practice and you've only got 3 patients in a day, did you go, oh, here we go again?
Yeah, absolutely. I assumed that somewhere between 5 to 10% of my patients would follow me initially. So I was expecting, 150, 200 patients, something like that is kind of what I thought. So 40 was a humbling number, but humility is a good thing.
I'm sorry I didn't follow you.
No, that's okay. Humility is a good thing, and so, but the practice continued to grow, and as people learned what we did, and still now, within the last few months, I've had patients who were my patients over 4 years. It's been 4.5 years ago now that I started my own practice, and I have patients who were patients of mine at my old practice that said, "We're signing up. We still, it's been almost 5 years and we still haven't found anybody that meets our needs, and it's not a good fit where we are." And so I still have old patients of mine that are joining my practice now. So it's
they're older.
That's right. Yeah.
If someone wanted information about your practice, I don't even know the name of your practice. I know where you're at.
Absolutely. But, so it's called Hometown Health.
Hometown Health.
Yeah. So basically, like I said, it's just a private practice. My wife and I came up with the name. We finished out the building. We picked out the paint colors. We literally sketched on a napkin the diagram. I'm not part of any bigger organization or anything like that, but we're starting my own practice in my hometown, and we'll try to keep it as simple and comfortable as possible is kind of the theme of the whole thing. So,
does Hometown Health have a website?
myhometownhealth.org. So all the good hometown health websites were already taken, unfortunately. So I got stuck with myhometownhealth.org.
I hope we drum up a patient or two.
Yeah, give us a call. We're certainly
myhometownhealth.org.
That's it.
And is there a phone number that goes along with that?
Sure, 817-854-2968. If you want to learn about kind of how medicine's being done differently in the area, or the other thing I would say is, if you're frustrated at how your doctor is working, I'm not trying to steal you as a patient. Ask your doctor if they've ever considered doing a different practice style and how they're doing. I would love to, I love talking to other doctors who are looking for alternatives as well. So
maybe a doctor who's showing frustration with filing insurance.
That's right. Yeah. There's, like I said, there's a lot of burnout and frustration with physicians these days. The system is hard. And in order to be successful in the system, you have to play the game, and you have to see a lot of patients, and you have to do a ton of paperwork, and you have a lot of restrictions on how you do things. And so, what I found was the only way to do that was just to create something totally outside of the system.
Sure.
So it's completely different than what people are used to, but that's by design.
Good to finally sit down and find out who Darin Charles is. And this may not be the last time you show up here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully.
Absolutely.
Dr. Darin Charles, thanks for being on About Mansfield.
Yeah, thank you.
Coming up next week on About Mansfield, as we prepare to send the kids back to school, we're going to be talking education next week. You'll just have to find out who we're going to talk education with. As always, this is the place where you'll hear the latest Mansfield news, sports, and conversation. Until then, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, share, love, or support this podcast if you haven't already, so you never miss an episode. It's free and it's easy. Head on over to our website, aboutmansfield.com. Right there on the homepage, enter your email address. Every time a new episode comes out, we send you an email. And we never send you any spam. We promise.
About Mansfield is recorded at Podcast Mansfield Recording Studio. Hosts Steve Casillo and Colleen Daniel. Moment with the Mayor feature, Michael Evans. Methodist Mansfield News to Know, Angel Biasatti. Mansfield Real Estate Market Update, Beth Steinke. Cocktail of the Week, Brian Certain. Post-production editing, mixing, and mastering, Steve Casillo.
This podcast is copyrighted by Podcast Mansfield Recording Studio for the private use of our audience. Any other use of this podcast without written consent is prohibited. We thank you all for listening on behalf of the entire news team. I'm Steve Casillo, and this is About Mansfield.